Hi, good evening. Welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. As some of you may have seen in the video that I did on the trip down the hill to music, it ended on the way down. It ended with bumping into, not literally of course, but bumping into our friend Alfred. Well, our friend Alfred brought to mind one of the recurring themes in our channel, which just refuses to go away. That I can think of, there are two recurring themes in our channel which just refuse to go away. One is that we get ladies asking, can we fix them up with foreigners, which actually we can't really. All that we can do is offer a platform where messages can be exchanged by the really determined, and as I explained, our friends Steve and Marge were determined enough and now have a great relationship for life. So you can come on and you can do it. If you're determined, you'll look at the way that people talk. I'm guessing it is difficult now until the comments are back for good, but that was the way that it was working. Now, why would I be saying that Alfred had brought this up again? The other theme that just never lies down, it's dead but it won't go away, and that is, what is the biggest obstacle for a foreigner coming here and actually settling happily within and integrated into the community of Filipinos that he finds himself in? You have to assume that let's set up the situation as being one in which the man has found someone that he loves very much, has settled down, married or not, and now has an extended family of Filipinos, both male and female. And probably because of his situation, that he has a reasonable pension and some savings which he's willing to invest into either the family or his extended family or his own family of his lady, and possibly the one or two children she may or may not have. The biggest obstacle is arrogance. Sorry to say this, and I know that there will be people saying, oh, listen who's talking, and yes, you will be right. It's for foreigners talking to me, the script is nearly always the same, that the Filipino that they're with is just wonderful, but hard-headed, stubborn, and unwilling to change. Which brings you smack up against the problem itself, and that is that just because you're a foreigner and just because you have come from this highly technical country, be it Germany or anywhere in Europe and the UK and the US and on and on and on, and you may have come from living in a house where you have it all. You know, you never do anything by hand. You don't light the cooker and pull out a pan and lay 2 pieces of bread down and then watch it in case it gets burned as you make toast. You have a toaster, and you don't make rice and put your finger in it like Filipinos do and say, oh, it's up to the first joint and then I know that it will get perfect rice. You have a rice cooker, and you have another cooker, and then you have 4 hobs on your cooker, and then you have a freezer that's as big as the refrigerator. Well, you have a refrigerator, and you have a car sitting out there and a second car in case it goes wrong, and you change it every 2 years. You're used to being, the last time that I was reading on this was $10,000 in debt on a credit card, and dutifully paying off your minimum payment so that you'll get it paid off eventually. Let's hope that you're still alive when that finally happens. But you're as stubborn in your own way as Filipinos are here. Now, there is such a thing as it being almost genetically programmed into you, your behavior and your response to certain people, types, characteristics. You know, the British have been at war in one way or another, be it attitude, opinion, like or dislike, with the Germans. 2 world wars, and underneath it all there'll still be that little thread of animosity probably, which anybody with a pulse will soon overcome if they meet a German that is as willing to change in their attitude as they are. Right. The Filipinos have that too. They've been conquered. They've been ruled. They've been subjected to their lifestyles, the culture of many. You know, they had a pretty rough time with the Japanese. Sorry to our Japanese friends, but it is a fact. The Spanish were here. The Americans had a go at it. I'm not quite sure. I think even the Brits might have had a go. I'm awfully surprised that they didn't succeed. So you can see that there's an emerging national spirit that seeks to become its own person, its own nation here within the Philippines. And when a foreigner comes over and wants to show them how to do everything, guess what? They get a little bit humpty about it. They don't want to be told what to do every time. Now, if you are a person that has struggled with a problem or two and has gone to a friend and asked their advice, so, Harry, what would you do if you were me? You just handed your life over to Harry. Harry is going to tell you what to do at every turn, including how to stand up without hurting yourself and which way you should be brushing your teeth. Well, because you asked him. And it becomes a right to exercise his opinion over yours. And it will happen. Now, I've seen letters to me where people are going to show the Filipinos how to do it. I've been watching how they do their brickwork. Oh my God, when I get out there, I'm a mason. I've been working as a mason for over 30 years. There's nothing that you can show me about laying a brick. And when I get there, I'm going to show the Philippines how to do bricklaying. No, you're not. Because they have their own way. Every expat, every foreigner, to a man, will tell you that the hollow block are no good. The hollow block are no good. Well, that's something of an exaggeration. It's not that the hollow block are totally no good, because they build their houses with them, but the specification is not the same. A friend of ours, Steve, has just, because we were discussing it, and we were discussing the fact that with our present project, building project 2B, because we can't afford to continue any more with it at the moment, we consider that it would be a good investment to buy a block making machine. They're actually rather simple. They only produce 4 blocks at a time. But you get to control the mix, and it's in the mix that the criticism about the blocks emerges. They don't put enough they just don't do the right mix to reach the specification that you would find in the UK or in, say, the US. And Steve made the point that 300 psi is the way that they measure it. Well, they measure it in psi. I'm not a brick expert, and I'm not here showing the Philippines how to do it, so I can admit humbly that I don't know exactly how that works. But just look at the numbers. 300 psi in the Philippines, and in California it's something like 1400 psi. Now, that you don't have to be a bricklayer to understand that there's a great deal of difference in the quality of the block in California to the block here. So here they've worked with 300 psi, and they build their houses, and the houses sometimes stand and sometimes they don't. Now, when I was in California, I was in Silmar in 1992 when they had the big earthquake. I think it was 92. And I watched this extremely advanced nation with all of their code, high code, and right close to Silmar, where I lived, near the foothills, I saw these wonderful, wonderful overpass freeways, great stretches of overhead roads, and they're wonderful. Well, they fell down wonderfully as well. So, nobody knows it all. The next time you find a man who knows it all, run away, because it will be a very boring time. Now, that brings you to what is the biggest problem that you will have when you come to America, come from America and live in the Philippines, or from the UK, or from Australia. You will be used to doing things in a certain way, and guess what? They don't do them that way here. So, like, get used to it. A friend of ours, his son is an extremely technical guy. Knows, he's one of those people who's very clever, gets called in to troubleshoot when things are going wrong. They'll call him in to get it to go right. And he watched one of the videos that we made where I was having a tire changed. We'd driven the truck into the bay, they jacked it up on a trolley jack, and then they took the wheel off. There were children in the truck. I sat on a seat close by and watched. The guy did his job. He put the thing back on, and we went on our way. He didn't have a hard hat. He wasn't wearing gloves. He didn't have knee pads. He didn't have steel-toed safety boots. In fact, if I'm not much mistaken, he may even have been working barefoot. Just imagine that. And all of these things were cited by our friend's son. Oh my God. No hard hat, no knee pads, no gloves, no trolley jacks, a trolley jack without an axle stand, working in bare feet, and it all horrified him, as it would if it was in his own country. And at one point he had said to my friend, his dad, you know what, I like what I'm seeing mostly in the Philippines. I think I would like to go and live there. And I wrote to him and I said, I give you 2 days and you will be totally insane, because our little trip to the tire place was typical of everything that happens everywhere. Here, things are done differently. Now, as I've said many times, the one thing that us us arrogant foreigners usually miss, and that is that people are happy. And forgive me if I keep saying that, because let's face it, in America one of the most popular dominant phrases is the pursuit of happiness. The American dream and the pursuit of happiness. And the people that come here have not found happiness, no matter how they have pursued it. And they come here, and then in their misguided arrogance, they want to change the way that the Philippines is to the way that wherever they've come from is. Imagine that. You run away from a place because you're not happy, and then you want to make the place that you run away to, where the people are happy, you want to make their country the same as yours. Seems extraordinary to me. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.